No, not. Typically when I'm singing, there's like music in the background, so I'm like, oh, this is fun.
I had got a phone call for a very special prayer request.
Okay.
And then I want to give an update on Heather. She had her back surgery, but you guys all knew that, like, what, I guess, 2 Sundays ago. And she seen the doctor on Monday, and she's still having problems, but it'll take a while, like nerve damage and numbness and everything else. But everything's great, no infection, no nothing at all. And I praise God
That's
for that.
awesome.
So just remember the Bathovic family, I appreciate it.
I
I
will.
went for my first checkup after my knee operation last October. And when I left him, he said, don't bother coming back.
Because you're good?
Yeah, that's what you like to hear.
Awesome.
Yeah, those are the nice ones.
Yes. Anything else?
Just my sister's prayer. I always like to keep her in prayer, you know, with having Alzheimer's. But she's on medication, she's doing great, she sounds like normal. It's just, God is awesome
Yes.
that she found the right doctor.
Yep.
Finally, I got her away from, I kept telling her, get away from the doctor you're at. She's still pushing, still pushing. They took her off. Wow. And she goes to doctors every now and then. When she was there, I haven't talked to her. I don't know how it turned out. They think it was her heart. She thought she had pneumonia.
Mm.
And Jeff took her into the hospital, Huntington. I'm not very fond of Huntington, but they sent her to a cardiologist. I have not spoken to her. I pray that it's not.
Yes.
Having Alzheimer's bad.
Yep. There's my sister. Okay. Any prayer requests to you? Okay. Thank you. Trying to think. I don't think there's anything that I need to say, but just praise. Work has been going pretty good for me. Typically, interpreting slows down in the summer, but I have not had that issue. I had a week where I was panicking, and then I just gave it to God, and it worked out. Yes. Yep. Yeah, I would say I prayed, and then I got 7 days a week work. But yeah, but Sunday is interpreting church, and I really like that pastor. So he's a cool guy. We can pray for the Fields family on their vacation, their family's wedding, having a good time. Jokingly earlier, I put this mic on. I was like, "Hi, I'm Jared Fields." I even have my little pen in my book. Beth Ann gave me this book because she's nice. Trying to think if there's anything else.
Remember Paul Keener? He's going next Tuesday for a biopsy. They found a mass in his chest.
Okay.
You'll continue to pray for the lady I work with. I've mentioned before, her name is Deb. She has lupus. Because of insurance changes, they're switching up her medicine, and she's struggling.
And then we can pray for Beth Ann because she gets to talk on Sunday and she's going to do good, but nerves are a thing.
Very real thing.
It'll be great.
Oh, I have a lot of Riley Runk, who is my best friend from high school. She's in Poland, doing kind of a study abroad program, and she's messaging me today, and she's starting to get pretty homesick, but she doesn't come home till July 1st.
What's her name?
Riley Runk.
I'd say, yeah, sunburnt feet, that's also like a terrible thing. But, all right, I'd say if we're all good then, I can go ahead and pray and then we can get started. All right. Dear Lord, thank you for today, for everything you have given us, and for bringing us here tonight to have Bible study together. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share while Pastor Jared is on vacation for a wedding and seeing family. We would just pray that they have a good time and you keep them safe with their travel mercies. I also would pray, we have a couple names tonight from Tom got a phone call and a back surgery, Jeannie's sister waiting on a cardiologist maybe, a biopsy, lupus, so many different medical needs that we wish that we could all fix and take care of, but we don't know what your plan is, but we would just pray that your will be done with them and that you would come and give them comfort and peace during this time and let them know that they are not alone. And we also pray for everybody in the church. We thank you for all of our church members. We pray that we keep growing and sharing the gospel. Thank you for giving different people different opportunities to share, like Beth Ann and our worship team, Tia, and like Willie for doing tech, and everybody that just comes together to try and make this church a better place and just keeping this system running, because whether we realize it or not, it is a lot of work, but it's God's work, and every day we just try to follow you, do what we can. I pray that when we leave tonight, that we all have safe travel mercies, that we have a good rest of our week, and that we can come back again on Sunday. And again, thank you and amen. Okay, so this is a lesson on Right Now Media called Live on Purpose. This one today is called This is the Day. We're just going to do the first session tonight. So to start off with, I'm going to ask, what would make your day go well, and what would you hope would happen? Hit the lottery, yeah. Mine is, I would love to start the day with some coffee and a peanut butter sandwich. Like, that gets the day going great. Back patio family. Anything that like you wish would happen every day, even if it's random.
Special favor, that's my most fervent prayer.
Yes. He said prayer. Yes, that is good. Yeah, better than a peanut butter sandwich and coffee. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. No jelly, just peanut butter, 2 pieces of bread, and a nice caramel latte. It's a good day. Toast. Yes, yes. So, just all of that to say, every day is a gift from God and packed with potential to bless Him and others. This series with the Heisman Trophy winner, Team Tebow, is all about seizing the opportunities God gives us each day to obey Him and love others. But it's really talking about, like, why do you put off things till tomorrow? Like, we were given this day. That's the theme for tonight. So, Willie, is the video ready? Thank you. We'll watch that.
This is the day. A day for change. A day that can be different, better than yesterday. A day that even in the revolving doors of responsibilities and to-dos can be filled with more purpose and passion than you think possible. It's never too late. You're not too young. You're not too old. you can have purpose not only in your life, but in this day. There is always something you can do right now to improve yourself, to make an impact on someone, or to create or enjoy a meaningful moment. Challenge yourself right now. Begin to think about each day as an opportunity to crush it, to pursue the right things, to gain a better perspective, to step out of your comfort zone, and to go all in. It's time to uncover your God-given potential and start really living. Life isn't just about one day. It's about this day.
June 26, 2016, Delta Flight 1772. It started as any other flight. Then all of a sudden, I start to hear some whispers and see people turning their head and looking to the back of the airplane like something was happening. And so I turn around and look back, and I can kind of see a lady crying back there a little bit, but I can't really make out too much of what's going on. Then finally, a flight attendant comes walking by, and she says, "Does anyone have an EpiPen?" And then another flight attendant comes walking by a few seconds later, "Is there a doctor on board, or any of you doctors?" So I kind of stand up again and look, and I can't really see anything. And I'm like, you know what, I can't do anything anyway, so why even make a big deal about it? I'm not a doctor, I don't have an EpiPen, I don't know what's going on. Probably someone had allergic reaction, or maybe they're motion sick, I don't know. And so I don't need to worry about it. I put my headphones back on and I hit play on the movie. God starts to nudge my heart. You need to do something. You need to do something. My first reaction is, no, I don't want to do anything. I'm not a doctor. There's nothing that I can do. I can't help in any way. I don't need to do anything. So I continue to watch and kind of argue with God in my head. I can't do anything. That voice gets louder. Timmy, you need to do something. So I hit pause on the movie and I sit for a second. Okay, God, and I take off my headset and I see a flight attendant right up there, and so I unbuckle and I walk up to her and I say, "Ma'am, I don't know what's going on, but see that woman back there that's crying? Maybe you could walk back there and see if she would want me to pray with her. Maybe there's something I can do to encourage her." She said, okay, and she totally ignored me and didn't walk back there at all. And another flight attendant walked by me and I said, "Hey, ma'am, you think it would be okay if you'd go ask that lady back there if I could maybe pray with her?" She said, "Of course." She walked back there very intently. She whispered to the woman, and instantly the flight attendant comes walking back to me and she starts waving me over fast like this. And so as I get farther to the back of the plane, I see this older gentleman laying on the ground, prostrate, and blood is coming out of his mouth as he's laying there unconscious. Then I get to the lady crying and her friend who's trying to console her, and as I get to her, they turn and they see me and they fall into my arms. And one of the ladies just cries uncontrollably, and the other one says, "I've run out of words. You pray." And so I'm kind of shocked and overwhelmed, but I pray for God's hand of mercy. I pray for a wall of protection. I pray for a miracle. When I finish praying, I get to meet these two ladies. Debbie, who is the wife of Boots, who's unconscious laying on the ground, and her friend Karen is her co-worker and good friend who was flying on a business trip, but also to spend time together in Arizona. She was trying to console Debbie, and I get the chance to meet them and cry with them and pray with them, and it's a cycle we repeat for the next hour until we're landing in Scottsdale, Arizona. And as we're landing, the ambulances are rushing to the plane, and they come on from the back of the plane. And as the doctors and the nurses are working on Boots, and they're doing CPR, and they're trying to find a pulse, and the last thing we hear before we get off the plane is, "We think we have a pulse." Hope finally speaks. They put him into the ambulance, and they won't let Debbie go with them, so we just pick up all the blood-stained clothes, and I meet them once we get off the plane, and I get all of their bags, and I have an SUV waiting for me, and so I put Debbie and Karen in my SUV and put all the bags in the back, and we rush into the hospital, and they put us in a waiting room as we cry and pray and hope for the best. Finally, the doctor walks in and tells us, "I'm so sorry for your loss." The doctor said, "Would you like to come say your final goodbyes to Boots?" And Debbie says yes, and she asked me to escort her back to the room. And so she sits beside him and she holds his hand and she starts to reminisce and tell stories about Boots and her. And she starts to tell me, it's kind of crazy, but a month ago, for some reason, God put it on her heart to tell Boots in the middle of this movie, "Thank you for being my rock while I battled leukemia. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for everything you have done for me. And if I have never told you, I want to tell you now, thank you, and I love you." And before they got married, Debbie and Boots promised each other that they were going to travel because their parents always talked about it, but they never did. They were living out their passions. They were living out something that God had put on their heart that they always wanted to do. My question to you is, are you living out what's on your heart? Playing in sports my whole life, I've played with so many athletes that are so talented, and yet there's still so many that will waste it because they won't start eating right till one day. They won't do the right thing. They won't get any sleep. They won't do these things, and it's so frustrating because you say, wow, God's given you all of this. Take advantage of it. Use it. Make the most of it. Guys, sometimes I feel like that's true in our lives. Sometimes in my life. One day I'm going to go on a mission trip. One day I'm going to get right with God. One day I'm going to go back to church. One day I'm going to start having a meaningful life. One day I'm going to have a life of significance. James 4:14 pretty much tells us that we're here today and we're gone tomorrow. Guys, we don't know how much time we have, but we do know that we can make it count because we serve a God that loves us so much and He's invested in us and He wants to be a part of our lives, not just for one day, but for this day. Are you living a one-day life? Are you living a this day life? That this day is going to matter, that this day is important, that this day is the day where you can change someone's life. You're not going to wait for another time, for another chance, because we don't know if we'll ever get it. But you do have this day. Make this day count. Make this day on purpose. Make this day important. Make this day a day that is going to change someone's life.
Should be back on? Yeah. Okay. Didn't think you want to hear me drinking my water. But, so that's pretty wild. Like, I cannot imagine, like, when I was like reading through all of this and prepping for today, I had no idea what his story was going to be. And I was thinking about some of my situations and it was not that extreme, but I think that takes a whole lot of courage and a whole lot of faith to go do all of that. But it says here, I'm following a paper, but I have side comments, I promise. So he started the session by telling the story about the airplane, sensing God prompting him to pray with the woman and the sick husband. So when he said yes to what God asked him to do, he was able to help the woman as her husband passed away. So when has God prompted you to do something for another person? Did you obey? And what ended up happening? If you don't want to answer all those questions, you can answer part or. Tom?
We're on a plane one time, and my daughter worked for a doctor, have a small pharmacy we carry with us. Anyways, this kid was about 2 years old, ear pain, crying like he shouldn't have. I went up in the overhead, I got my bag out, I got one of the vials out, and I put a drop in his ear. I should have never done that. And then I told the mom, one drop only. If he needed one later, give it to him, and it cured the kid. I didn't want to do that, but I did do it. I shouldn't have. And thank God nothing happened. Practicing medicine without a license.
Yeah. Do you feel like God called you to go up there and do that?
I beg your pardon.
Do you feel like God called you to go help that kid?
Yeah, I would do it. I would do it.
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing too. I was embarrassed. I should have done this. We carry tracts. I had this Louis Bible, and this lady, I don't know if she was going to the little book to her, it was Bible Truths, Promises.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do that, I regret that, like I was saving that to give it to somebody else, why didn't I do that?
I think we all have moments where like you don't do something or you do part of it and not all of it, and then afterwards you're like, what in the world?
Right.
But I think as we come to Bible study, we read our Bible, pray, like the more you take time to know God, I feel like your thoughts become God's thoughts and you're connected, or you kind of feel like you're constantly in prayer, as in like when something pops up, you can immediately like ask God, or like God knows like you need help in that moment, and communication just becomes easier. It's kind of like a best friend or like someone like you're starting to date, like you take time to get to know them and then you don't even have to ask some of those questions anymore, like you just know them. But he does give us the answers. But so I have like an example here. So in the past I had a very big temper. You can ask my mom and sister, like everything made me mad. This was pre being saved. So because of that, in some situations, like I burned some bridges with some friendships, or like after even being saved, trying to get over my temper, I was like, I can't stand this person. They're so annoying. And like if you brought up their name, I was like, ew, don't talk about them. So I think a big part of that too is like learning to forgive, because I didn't forgive and I didn't move on for such a long time that like maybe I could have showed them Christ earlier if I had worked on that earlier. But I feel like sometimes either we have so much negative talk of ourselves that we think we don't deserve things, that we can't hear what God's trying to say, or we hear it and we're just like, you're wrong, or find somebody else, which we all are guilty of it. We all make mistakes, but it's a relatable thing, sadly. But I think the more we mature, the less that happens. And if it does, we can recognize it easier and try to fix it. But it says, it's common to feel God nudge you to do something for him or for another person. Maybe he's asked you to pray for a friend at church, or tell a cashier she's doing a good job, or give a meal to the homeless person. But what difference do you think Tim, the guy in the film, made in the life of the woman he helped on the plane? So the guy, Tim, was talking about the woman on the plane. They're asking, what difference do you think he made in the life of that woman? Yeah. Yeah, big support is what she said.
I think the Lord used him to show her kindness and love during the passing of her husband.
Yes.
Which I think is definitely evident because, I mean, if it wasn't God, you know, if you like think about this, you meet this guy on the plane, he's like, hey, can I pray for you? And then he's like, okay, hurry up, get in my SUV that's waiting for me at the airport, I'll take you. Like, if you just thinking about the situation, I'm like, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I would probably not hop in somebody's SUV.
Yeah.
So
I would be getting out of the pepper spray and calling the police, be like, I'm not getting in your van. Like,
so, like, you can't, like, the woman had to have definitely known, like, I mean, if she was not saved, that something was different about him in that, like, in that sense, but also, I think too, if, like, the man in the situation Boots, while he was laying there, you know, and if he heard this, like, say he wasn't saved, but he heard this, like, praying and this crying out to God, even if he heard it, he may have been able to cry out to God, like, in his last moments.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I think there is definitely a big impact there on many levels.
I wrote on here that he was able to show unconditional love like Jesus. He's like, I don't know you, I don't care, but I'm here to help you. And I feel like that is very rare. So I feel like all of us Christians, we always talk about love like Jesus. And I think loving God, cool. Loving people, sometimes difficult. And I think we'd all agree. But I feel like the more we know God, the more joy we have. And then that's easier to show that love, because if I feel so much love, why wouldn't I want you to feel that love as well? But yeah, that's just, It was just crazy to me because he didn't know all these people. Then he asked the flight attendants, "Can I pray for you?" And the first one was like, "Oh," and just left. So for me, if that was me, I'd be like, okay, well, maybe I heard God wrong. And he did not tell me to do this, because if that would have been the case, he would have made that lady say yes. But then he went out of his way again to ask a second flight attendant to ask, and then went back. And not only did he take care of the husband and wife, but there was a friend there too. So it was just like, there's so many levels to this that the more I think about it, the more my brain just keeps spinning. But on a positive note, it says, when have you seen God make a difference in someone's life through you? Like something you have done, said, prayed for?
I would say my favorite week of the year is Vacation Bible School, because, I mean, I think partially I've learned through substitute teaching that sometimes you don't realize how smart little kids are until you see them in maybe a classroom setting or in like a Vacation Bible School setting, and the way that they can like grasp onto information very quickly. And I think that that week just has like such an impact on these kids, because you don't know like what situation they're coming from. Because a lot of the times we get tons of kids in the area, whether their parents are like come to church or have that influence in their household. Like a lot of parents just have a tendency, oh it's the yearly thing to do. Let's go to Vacation Bible School. So I think it's just really amazing to see them understand like there is a God that loves them unconditionally. And yeah, I think not only does he make an impact, but I think just the connection that the kids feel to their teachers. And like I usually run the music, and the connection by the end of the week that I think they feel with me and I feel with them is really cool.
And I think stuff like Vacation Bible School, Community Day, things like that, like sometimes we get opportunity to see kids, parents, families that we would never get to see otherwise, which is cool. And like I've noticed in the past too, like I can think of a few families that their kids came to VBS, loved it so much, so then the parents come on Sunday to watch the program, and then those same people keep coming back the Sundays following.
That was us.
Yeah, that was my family. Because we were like, Mom, they're doing Song Quest Rainforest down there. Let's go. And like the logo had a frog, so I was in. I was ready to go. But then we ended up here. So good stuff.
They were in church prior to that.
Yeah, we were in church prior to that. We just started coming to this church.
I think the biggest example, I think my brother will be okay with me saying this, of me in probably my 20s, stepping out of my comfort zone, and it was more rewarding for me, I'm sure, than my brother. I knew my brother Corey had gotten saved, and I had on my heart for a week that I was supposed to go knock on his door, and all I was supposed to say to him was, "That a boy." And I thought, I'm not doing that. Like, I am not going to Corey's house, knocking on the door and saying, "That a boy." Well, I did it. And he started to cry and said that he had told the Lord that he wanted to be like a dog at his feet, like his companion. And he said, "I tell my dog that a boy all the time." So even if it seems stupid, do it.
Mm-hmm.
I really should have said this, but I will. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version.
Okay.
I worked in nuclear power plants just about my whole life. No, like 3 miles, 7 years, Blue Creek Cell, and whatever you call that. I'm in Jersey, and the group I'm with, the majority of the people, they were from South Carolina, Texas, every state, and Ireland, Germany also. But anyways,
Okay.
Paul Batchelor, Chicago, he was my fitter. He would fit the pipe up, I would weld it. And he sent me a letter, and he said, he seen something in me that, or my actions that he wanted, and he went back to Chicago and accepted the Lord. And I thought that was so great that I kept the letter, I have it in my safe, that he would send something like that to me.
50% of our communication and how our brains decide to communicate with people is body language and actions, not what actually comes out of our mouth. So like if we would walk in this, like if a new person right now would all walk in and we're all like stink facing these people, they're gonna be like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything, I'm gonna put my head down, maybe try to find a way to leave, but like it changes everything. So when you have God and someone can, like whether they know it's God or positivity or something, they're gonna be like I want that, I get that. And it's a proven fact that positive people radiate around each other, and then you just got to keep pulling them in. So, which is what we all try to do as Christians. Trying to think. But I feel like recently I've been the substitute at youth group, and so I was like, I am not adequate to do this, but like I was asked to do it, so I'm just going to do it. I will do my best. I'll pray about it, but like, who knows? Well, the more I kept coming, like the more the kids were like, oh, we're so happy you're here, or they felt comfortable to be like, this happened in school, I can't stand this person, I know I'm supposed to forgive them, but I can't do it, so next week you need to come back and teach us how to forgive people. So, and I just feel like also, like going to YAM, coming here like with you guys and stuff, like it's not that we weren't friends before, but I feel like it makes me feel closer, it makes me feel less alone, and I feel like I'm being impacted or impacting in so many different ways. And then it's easier when I have like this support group, I can be like, guys, I'm a little nervous because I'm not Pastor Jared, but it's okay. So, good job, guys. The next part of this, Tim talked about living out what's on your heart. He said we should stop saying we'll do certain things for God one day. Instead, we should take advantage of today and do what God asks us to do. And it says, what are some examples of our one-day thoughts and dreams, and why do you think sometimes when God asks us to do stuff or gives us an idea of something to accomplish, we just put it off? Scary? Yeah, I put that. Fear of failure is a big one.
Tessa's a type 1 diabetic and her pump was beeping.
Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, I'm good. I was trying to listen and talk at the same time. But yeah.
I think anytime God asks you to do something, if you're obedient, He'll equip you. I've had several calls. A couple weeks ago, I had a friend call me. He said, I know you've gone to see people when people die. He said, would you go for me? And I didn't know what to answer him, and I said, I'll see. So I hung up. Told Elvina, time to get a shower, I'm gonna go. She said, where are you going? I said, well, I'm gonna go to those people's house. She said, what are you gonna say? I said, I don't know yet. I'll find that out when I get there.
Yeah.
So, my friend called me the other day and told me that people wanted me to know that it really helped them in their time of grief. So you don't always know, what you're gonna walk into, or how things are gonna go. And I told my buddy that morning, I said, you don't know what people are gonna think when you walk in there, and you don't know what you're gonna walk in, but I found that by just trusting Him, He will give me that strength, and He did. I said stuff that I would have never thought I would have said, but it come from Him, it didn't come from me. And I always think of what Pastor Don always said, obedience always follows blessing. If you're obedient to God, He's going to bless you.
And I think the great thing about having a relationship with Jesus is so like He does give us stuff that we feel like there's no way I could ever do that or I can't handle that. But because we have God, we have a different set of like peace and mindset. And like Rick said, like you just say things and you're like, sometimes I don't even remember what I say. And then that person's like, oh, thank you for talking to me the other day. I'm like, when did we talk? But I don't actually say that. But like, it feels like God just like comes through you. And of course it's stuff that we wouldn't think of with our little earth brains, but God gave it to us and He knew that we could do it. And I think it's a great thing. And it's definitely difficult. On mine, I put fear of failure or fear of learning the truth. So either God asking me to do something, say something, talk to someone, or God asking me to look inside myself and see what I'm doing and what He's saying. And whether it's like right or wrong, it can scare the heebie-jeebies out of you when it's self-analyzing. Easier to help others than help ourselves sometimes. But it's equally important. But
What you're doing tonight with this, tonight,
Thank you. Everybody listen right. The next part says, Tim explained that we should seize the opportunities God placed before us today, and we should make every day count. So what are some things that you guys do to make your day count? Like, is there a routine, something you try to do every day, like something you add?
I got saved, I started getting up an hour and a half before it was time to go to work, and I'd read my Bible and start my day off that way. My boy told me I was crazy. He said, "You're getting up at 2 o'clock and you're getting up an hour and a half early anyhow." But I found the more that I done that, the more I wanted to do it, and I didn't want to miss that time. And it got easier and easier, even till the day I retired, I done it. And I still do it. I start my day off that way and I end my day that way. And it always seems like God has something to tell you. You're just willing to sit a little bit and listen.
I know one time, I think it was at trunk or treat, I was with Cheryl, and her phone went off, and her ringtone was church bells. So I was like, oh, what's that? And she said, that's my prayer reminder. And I was like, huh? She said, I have different reminders throughout the day to pray, just like pray about something. She said, it's not that I would forget to pray otherwise, but like it's just intentional time that I set up for myself to talk with God. I was like, that is so smart. Like, I just thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. I was like, this is this really cool thing. But anything else you guys do? It's okay. The next thing, Willie, if you wouldn't mind pulling it up, we're going to look at the Bible verse, James 4:13 through 17. And then I'll read it. Look here, you who say, today or tomorrow we are going to a certain town and we will stay there a year. We will do business there and make a profit. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like the morning fog. It's here a little while, then it's gone. What you ought to say is, if the Lord wants us to, we will live and do this or that. Otherwise, you are boasting about your own pretentious plans, and all such boasting is evil. Remember, it is a sin to know what you ought to do and then not do it. So my mom helped me pick out this lesson plan because I was like struggling to find something that was trying to like encapsulate what I wanted to say. So when I pulled this up, when I was reading through the lesson plan, trying to think about it, the last Bible verse, because I read the physical Bible and the Bible app, it just depends on the day. The last thing I highlighted in my Bible app on my phone is the 4:17. Remember, it is a sin to know what you ought to do, then not do it. So I was like, And I think that just really like hit me hard because it's talking about, instead of saying, this is what I want to do today, and then just going and doing it, we should be like, God, this is what I was thinking, but I want you to tell me what you want me to do. I mean, honestly, we don't even have to tell him what we're thinking because he already knows the plan that we made for that day. But even if it's like, I want to cut the grass, take a nap, go to eat lunch. If God's like, no, you're going to go out to eat breakfast, cut the grass, then take a nap. Like maybe we were like, no, that's dumb, I don't want to do it. But for some reason, and we know the reason, every single time that we follow God's plans, it's typically always better than expected. Like even if in the time I think this is the worst idea possible, a week, month, years later, I'm like, oh, that's why I did that. That makes sense. Glad I did it God's way, not my way. And it's okay to take time to realize those things. And I think everybody goes through that. And another part of here that it says, I wanted to talk about, talking about like boast. Otherwise, like you boast about your own pretentious plans, and all such boasting is evil. So I was like, evil? Like, is this saying that my thoughts are evil? And that just did not make sense to me for a little bit. But God was like trying to explain this to me. What is the opposite of holy? Evil. So if we are living our lives for God, doing what we should be doing, great. If we have our own thoughts, I don't believe all thoughts are themselves are evil, but I do feel like if I'm saying like, this is my day, I'm doing what I want, like this is my house, like you don't recognize God in anything, you ignore God on purpose, and you don't openly say like, this is my life, I'm a Christian, I'm giving it to you, God. Every time we deny him, like that is an evil thing. So that's why this saying, pretentious plans, like it's about you, like you are your own God that you have created because you are the center focus. You're not trying to take into consideration what God is trying to do. So that's how I interpreted the evil part, because I was like, are all of my thoughts evil? And I was like, oh, but that's okay. Do you guys have any thoughts about that? Anything that like hit you? Thanks. She said, preach it, sister, for those online if you can't hear. Which I probably should have like gave you guys a mic for talking, but I did not think that far ahead. And I did not ask Willie about that. So sorry people at home if you can't hear half the stuff. The next part, I want to make sure we don't go over time. Okay, we got time. It says, in this passage, James tells the Christians to beware of how brief their lives are. We cannot know what tomorrow will bring, but we sometimes act like we do. And these verses are good examples of assuming that you'll have good business for the next year, or a good day, or I have time for that tomorrow. And it says, what are some other examples that you think you have control over for tomorrow, next week, or even a year?
I think your life just becomes so routine. I mean, you get up, you go to work, and come home, you just automatically think, this is my day. This is how it works. So I think sometimes you just have to stop and think, what is it you want me to do? Even though I have my same job, I do the same thing every day, how can I do something for you today, God? Do I need to talk to a certain patient a certain way? Do I need to be more open in a certain way? Or, you know, you lead my day.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice how with your anxiety, we're trying to pray, read the Bible, whatever, and my steps are ordered by God, and my different devotions, like, God will take me through this day, but I plan it my way, and I'm stumbling, everything else, I'll take the long way, whatever, all this stuff. And it's how we're geared, and we shouldn't be that way.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think that even when we think the day is planned and we're going along the day and then something falls apart, God provides. So yesterday, Tess broke down almost to Somerset, and it just happened that Ezra didn't have work yesterday, so he could immediately go be with her so she wasn't in the boonies by herself. I have a client up that way who has a garage, so I was able to call and say, hey, my daughter's up there broken down. They have the car. I mean, it just all worked out, even though it seems like terrible Tess broke down. However, God provided through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there was a lesson in that.
Yes. Yep.
He always has a lesson behind everything.
Yeah. It was very interesting, because also the night before, Ezra was like, I don't have work tomorrow, they don't need me, like, I know, like, I love fishing, and I can go fishing, but, like, I want to make money, I want to go to work. And then Mom hurried up and called Ezra for me, because I had, like, 1 bar of service, in and out, so I had to, like, my car's parked here, so I'm running up the mountain, talking on the phone, this car pulls over and is like, come here, and I'm like, Mom, stay on the phone, they're asking me to come here. But it was a nice couple that stopped and wanted to make sure I was okay. And I was panicking. I thanked Ezra like 20 times, because God obviously protected me, because this was 30 West. So the guy said to me, you could have picked the worst spot to wreck today. I was like, well, I didn't really pick to wreck here, but break down. Not wreck, but break down. And then so Ezra came, so I just got to like spend the evening with my brother basically, till the tow truck came, a deer came. But like it was just like quality time with my brother. That doesn't happen very often, and like God took care of it. Maybe I wasn't supposed to go to work that day. I don't know, but like Mom said, it works out.
And I told Mom, I was telling Mom yesterday, I was like, it always feels like every single day, I said, I feel like we're just made to live life like flying by the seat of our pants. 'Cause we can make all the plans in the world, but that doesn't mean it's God's plans. And then if you just live your life like, expect the unexpected, then you're not going to be all frazzled when things don't go your own way.
Rarely in our household do things go as planned.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have found just to relax and realize God knew, and He's got it.
He's in control.
Yeah.
He really is.
I said, I was able to slow down my car, pull off and park it. And I sat there for the first 30 seconds. I'm like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Then I was like, God, I do not have time to be nervous. You don't want me to be nervous. Just help me get through these next couple phone calls. So I called my dad, called my mom, called AAA, all that. But it all just worked out because I was able to ask for that peace, and then I just had it. And then I was calm the rest of the day, laughing about it when I got home. When waiting for the tow truck, Ezra was like, I'm sure you're so happy that I drove so fast to get here for nothing to happen for a little bit. I was like, hey, you get to hang out with me. And he was like, mm-hmm. But, yeah, but we had a nice time, so. But I saw this recently. I think it connected to this. So there's a girl on TikTok, Facebook, whatever. I don't know if you've seen her videos, but she does little mini devotionals. She's very funny. So she tries to make catchphrases for you to remember things. And she said, if you are working with God to keep your peace, and you feel like things are starting to get messed up, it's because the devil is upset by your peace. Catch it. So I think that also has helped me change my mind a little bit, because I just always think for all things work together for good for those who love the Lord. And I didn't think on the flip end of I have thought about it, but not in depth of the devil is upset that I'm going to church, I'm trying to do what God wants to do. So I've never thought about him actively attacking me individually all of the time and how upset he must be. But I don't care. Suffer. I'm doing what God wants to do. But I just never thought of it that way before. But that's what it made me think of, and I didn't know. I mean, I thought it was funny. I don't know what you guys think, but I'd just rather share it than keep it in my head. Yeah.
I had a girlfriend, a friend that, she was many years older than I was, and she'd be reading the Bible, and a thought would come in her mind, and then she would look down, and she'd take her Bible, open it, put it on the floor, can't you read that, Satan? Pick it up, and she'd be fine. But true, he knows the Bible inside and out. So, he just does.
Yeah. Yep.
That always amazed me that she would do that. I've seen her do it.
Yeah. So the next part is, it says, why do you think we tend to I don't know if I already asked you this. Why do you think we tend to forget that we have no control over the future, and what do we try to do to keep the future under our control?
We want to plan it. It's not our plan. It's God's plan. I still don't.
That's okay.
I think it's just so drilled into our society. What's your plan for the day? Oh, what's your plan for juniors, seniors in high school? Oh, what's your plan for college? People in college. Oh, what are your plans after college? And I think that's just so drilled in our society that we think that we have to have a plan, even though we don't, because God has a plan.
That's the way society is.
Yeah.
That's not what we want, it's what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you don't have a plan, it makes you sort of panicky, but then you have to go back and remember it. That's society talking, not God. I don't need to be flipping out right now because I'm going into my junior year and I don't know exactly what I'm doing when May 2026 happens. And that's okay, because God knows. And I just have to find
I put down, so God gives us free will, so our relationship with him is not forced. Because, like, if I went up to Beth Ann, I'm like, you will be my best friend. You will sit with me in church every Sunday. And, like, I forced her to be my friend. She wouldn't actually like me, and she would not actually, like, care to take the time to get to know me. So I think because we have free will, like, God lets us make choices. He doesn't force us to become saved and have a relationship with him. But then, like, let's say we do. And then I feel like a lot of times, like, God's giving you confidence to, like, live out his plan for you. So sometimes I'm like, God, you can just relax. I can handle this. Like, I can do this. It'll be fine. And, like, even if you feel like God's telling you to do something, if you're not actively, like, checking in, things could still go haywire. So it's important to, like, stay in check. And whether you think you can handle it or not, maybe, like, double check with Jesus before you just go out and start doing your thing. But I think sometimes that's where I get stuck in the middle, because I'm like, okay, well, God gave me this work this week because he wanted me to have it. So I'm just like, I'll just go and do it. Like, thanks, God, going to work, instead of my everyday prayer of, before I go on this job, God, like, whatever I'm supposed to say, do, how I'm supposed to interpret, how am I supposed to talk to staff, like, I just want you to take this job. Because I'm like, thanks, God, I got it. Like, no, like, set up my intentional time and don't backtrack. Like, yes, God made me to do this job, but, like, acknowledging him, I think, is different. So just don't think that, like, you can handle it and you got this, because, like, God wants to help you through it every day.
It's important that you say through it, because you're never stuck in it, unless you choose to be stuck in it.
True. The next part says, James offers an alternative to boasting in the future. In verse 15, he says, instead, we should acknowledge that God is the one who holds our future in his hands. And then it's talking about ways you can remind yourself of that. I put reading the Bible, and then I take notes on what I read, like what I feel God tells me at that time. So if I ever go back and read it again, I can see if it changed, or if I want to, like, review on something quick, I can do that. I listen to songs, so there's this Bible app, and one of the options, so, like, you know, you can get your phone to read stuff to you. On some Bible apps, there's an option to have the singer read the Bible to you. So it is a proven fact, psychologically, that, like, let's say you don't like country music, but you listen. You're trying to memorize a Bible verse, so you say the Bible verse in a country music song in your head. If you, like, repeat something that you don't like or you don't normally recognize, your brain's like, I want to solve that. I want to figure out what that is, and you keep it in your head. So how I learned the 10 Commandments was the 10 Simple Rules song by Mercy Me. As a kid, it was my favorite thing. Now, as an adult, I showed it to the youth group kids, and they were like, Tess, this is like weird old people music. I'm like, excuse me, that is what I listened to when I was your age. But if you do follow your schedule of, like, reading, listening to worship, that type of thing. But if you're having struggles, like, remembering something or comprehending something, try doing it a different way. It takes 5 days to make a habit, and it takes a minimum of 23 to break it. To start to break it, because certain habits can take longer. But I read case studies for fun. But I'm just trying to think of, like, your routine with God doesn't have to be boring. You can still do the same things and get the same goals accomplished, but it's okay to change up your routine as long as you're still having that intentional time with God. So those are my recommendations. Have fun. Yeah.
Just allow him to lead you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's just sitting and being still and listening
Yes.
and journaling. You all know I'm a huge journaler.
Yes.
So that has been life-changing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, when we did the 24-hour fasted prayer, the beginning of the guide or whatever it was for us to pray was be quiet. And I found that crazy helpful, because that's not something that I do often, is just sit quietly. So I think that's undervalued.
It's tough to keep your mind
It is.
quiet.
Well, he really speaks to you. And it's really true what the Bible says. The sheep will know the shepherd's voice. Like, he
Yeah.
wakes you up in the middle of
I agree with that. And I think too, so I think this was last summer, or maybe it was in the fall, Pastor Jared on one of these Wednesday nights talked about how being silent is one of the hardest things to do because all of our minds race and run, whatever. So sometimes to test myself, because for me personally, if I'm driving, I cannot listen to a podcast or the Bible being read or something, because I will think about that and not pay attention to the road. Because I'm the type of person where like I have to sit down and be focused on that one thing, or I'm all over the place. I tried listening to a podcast one time that was talking about a Bible lesson, and then I was like, no, this is too much. Like it was very overstimulating, and I just want to be able to like focus with God. So my new thing is, in the middle of driving, I will just shut off all the sound in my car, and I will drive in silence if it's like 5, 10, 30, however many minutes. And for me, that's made a huge difference because I would never do that. And my mom says she doesn't know how it's possible. But me and my dad can think absolutely nothing. Like I'll just be sitting there like this. What are you thinking about? Nothing. What? So I've started to channel that into my time with Christ. Big difference than just sitting there thinking absolutely nothing. Which it's weird, but I feel like in different stages of your life, you need different things. You use different methods. And again, Beth Ann mentioned, if you just let God tell you what you need, it'll be easier than me saying, I am going to do this every single day because I think I need it. Which we're all guilty of. It's okay. But we have 2 minutes left, and I feel like we're at a very good stopping point. I'm going to look at this last page and see if there's anything. But this recommends, like this says, list different activities. So Tim Tebow, the guy that did this, wrote a book. It tells you to read chapters 1 through 3. Well, we don't have that book, but if you want to buy it, it is called This is the Day, and it said this is connected to chapters 1 through 3, if you want to go buy Tim Tebow's book. This recommends every morning taking a few minutes to pray for God, to give you an opportunity to serve others throughout the day. Ask him to make you aware of the needs that you need to get done, what other people may need. Take time to glorify God for things he has done in the past, in the present, and your future. Read back over, make a list of it, look at that. And it says this week, your serve challenges. Choose one person in your life to serve this week. It says you could pray for them, help them with something, write a note of encouragement, go to lunch with someone, something like that. It says just think of someone to serve, because serving is pretty important. And I'm not going to say that we don't all do it. I don't know what you guys do in your personal time, but it's saying if you don't actively serve people all the time, take time out of your week to just do one thing. But yeah, so thank you all for coming. I will close us in prayer if that's okay. Dear Lord, thank you for today and for everything you have given us. Thank you for everybody that came tonight. Thank you for this lesson, and thank you for all the good conversations and things that we could discuss. And thank you for giving us each other to encourage each other to live for today, for what you want for today, not for us. Please help us to remember this week that you have a plan for us, and that is the plan that we should be following. And to please give us guidance on how best we can live out your plan and what things we should be doing in our everyday lives. And also, God, we are talking about serving others, like the video showed. So if there's someone that we're supposed to be reaching out to or praying for or anything related to that, please let us know. Thank you again for each other. Thank you for this church. Thank you for the community that we have. And I pray that you help us to help the community grow and bring more into church, or even if it's not this church, to bring people to Christ in general and get them to know you and have a relationship with you so we can all be together in heaven one day. And in Jesus' name I pray, amen.